And we're now getting some breaking news. This is from Venezuela, where there has been a heavy gunfire near Venezuela's presidential palace. Security forces opened fire after unidentified drones flew over the presidential palace in Venezuela. And the situation is now under control, but there were unidentified drones, after which there was heavy gunfire near Venezuela's presidential palace. And these drones flew over the presidential palace, and after which the security forces opened fire at these unidentified drones. We're now being joined by Rosali Hernandez, who's a journalist from Caracas in Venezuela. Rosali, help us understand what exactly happened near the presidential palace, keeping in mind the airstrikes by United States that just happened days ago.
Yeah, good, good. I don't know what time it is in there. I'm sorry. Right now in Venezuela, it's 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. So that was a confusion. Right now we are under a lot of pressure. There's a lot of forces of security surrounding all the city. The one force of the state was making a fly through all the city, and another force that has called Los Colectivos, or the collective, wasn't aware what those drones were, so they opened fire immediately, so they won't be under attack again. So it was just a confusion.
So, do we have any more details about these drones that are said to be unidentified? Where were these drones from?
Yeah, well, these drones belongs to a national security force that has named the DGCIM. That's a Spanish name. That's a force of contra-inteligencia. That's a security force that commands all the forces right here in Caracas. The other force that is controlling the place where nearby Miraflores, that's the main palace where the president right now is, Delcy Rodríguez. They saw it like a threat, but it was just drones of recognition, of surveillance. So it was just a confusion. Those drones belong to a state force of security.
All right, Rosali, do stay with us. So there has been, there were unidentified drones near the presidential palace in Venezuela, after which the security forces opened fire. But Rosali, who's a journalist from Venezuela, claims that there was some confusion over these drones. Meanwhile, ousted Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has appeared before a U.S. court, where he has declared that he's not guilty. He also asserted that he remains the legitimate president of Venezuela. Meanwhile, at the United Nations Security Council, the U.S. operation against Venezuela has faced sharp international criticism. Venezuela's ambassador condemned the operation as an illegitimate attack, adding that Maduro was kidnapped and the action constitutes a clear violation of international law. Russia also sharply criticized the U.S., stating that no justification exists for the crime and condemned the operation as armed aggression in breach of international law. China, too, condemned the operation as illegal and bullying. Chinese officials called on the U.S. to ensure the safety of President Maduro and his wife, and also urged their immediate release. U.S., however, has defended its actions at the UN Security Council meet, stating that there is no war against Venezuela and insisting that it is not occupying the country. Meanwhile, Venezuelan Acting President Delcy Rodríguez has emphasized her country's commitment to peace, sovereignty, and international cooperation. And Rosali from Caracas in Venezuela continues to stay with us. Rosali, how do you see these developments of President Maduro being in U.S. custody? He was presented before the New York court and he pleaded not guilty. On the other hand, there's Donald Trump claiming that the Venezuelan leaders must do what the U.S. thinks is right.
Well, right now that's a really complex situation because in here we are under a control of all the institutions by the Maduro regime. So even though Nicolás Maduro right now left the country, is in the hands of the American justice, that's not enough. So in here, we have a lot of problems to deal with. For example, there is not only Maduro that has a great power. In here, we have the Diosdado Cabello. Diosdado Cabello is a really important person who controls all the national security forces that has in charge the repression here in our country. For example, Delcy Rodríguez, now the actual interim president, she also has a great power over the institutions right here in Venezuela. By the other hand, there's the defense minister, Vladimir Padrino Lopez. He also rules and control and maintain the dictatorship here in our country. So it's not only Nicolás Maduro. In here, we live under like we can call it like an octopus. There's not only the head; they have a lot of arms who controls and rules all the security and all the institutions right here in our country. So I don't think the Venezuelans can feel safe right now, because it's not only Nicolás Maduro. Nicolás Maduro is also the weakest arm in that octopus. He wasn't the strongest one.
Rosali, also help us understand how is the public sentiment after the US airstrikes on Caracas and also the capturing of the President Maduro and his wife?
Well, right now we are under the control of a security force that has the name the Collective. That's a paramilitary group that control that belongs to civilians who has been armed. So that's the greatest concern for the Venezuelans right now. They feel that they cannot be joyful, or they cannot feel secure and calm around this situation. So the population today lives a really complex anxiety and a state of uncertainty, because they don't know what is really going to happen. I think that what has happened with Donald Trump has made immediate repression and consequences to the Venezuelans, not to external threat. So I think that unfortunately Venezuelans are going to live a long path in this journey.
All right, Rosali Hernandez, thank you so much for joining us on India Today.